They are at it again. After a brief period of respite in regards to the British government thinking up of a VPN ban, fooling at least me that maybe they forgot to continue with their ill-informed age verification / de facto ID checks for even downloading a VPN from places like the App Store or Google Play Store, I was just proven to be being a little too optimistic again. And unfortunately for you non-Brit bongs, this is coming for you too. Just because you might not be currently living in the UK, or you're just not from the UK, that doesn't mean that you are safe. In fact, a lot of you Anglosphere and Euro bros are heading towards the same chopping block, just a few paces behind yours truly. If something even just a little similar to this proposed British law passes through and becomes just that, every country in the Western world will begin to enact similar policies at a much faster rate. Kind of like a house of cards. One goes down, the rest go down with it. But after you subscribe to the channel, of course, let me have your ear for just a moment as I give you the rundown on the specifics of this now barreling tragedy, because it is just that. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I call this tragic, because this will have far-reaching consequences on your operational security when this gets implemented near you, because it will. To paint a picture of the desperation of the state when it comes to making attempts to track your online activity and plot as many data points about you and your thought crime as possible, Windscribe. If you are not aware, in early February of this year, Dutch authorities thought it prudent to raid the location of one of Windscribe's VPS units. Now, Windscribe is yet another VPN, though it seems they are one of the better ones, as the CEO soon came out to report that even though the Dutch police gave zero notice to this particular raid, we'll go into detail about that in just a minute, according to our Windscribe CEO, zero user data has been compromised. His assurance apparently guaranteed by Windscribe's policy of, quote, zero logs, which, along with the confirmed RAM-only servers from this particular raided location and the Windscribe X account publicly posting about how no user data was compromised, this occasion seems to be promising. Following this particular breach, Windscribe announced that they receive a couple requests each month from authorities about user information, to which Windscribe decline any non-legally binding requests by law enforcement to have access to their servers. However, on this occasion, the police just didn't bother with trivial stuff like getting a warrant or some other goofy legal jumbo, and just made their way into the location and literally just yoinked the server and told Windscribe they'd, get it back once they've analysed it. Crazy stuff, but not that surprising, especially coming from a Western nation like the Netherlands, where a huge amount of web traffic goes in and out. But unfortunately, I'm guessing this certainly won't be the last we hear about something akin to this situation. Alright, back from our little tulip detour there, it's important to remember that what the Dutch police did is not a one-off, and it could even be said that other countries like the US, UK and various other Euro bros and co want to streamline this process. And that's where the push for protecting the kiddies and stopping bad people with naughty ideas comes into play. And it's the same playbook we have seen used for a variety of reasons. It's almost funny how standardised it has become within governments, because of course this is a government pushed agenda. I mean, you think Microsoft forcing Mojang to institute a ban on unverified Microsoft accounts from posting chat messages whilst on a literal Minecraft server is to generate revenue or encourage users to stay on the game longer? No. Hell, if it was up to the business, they'd be getting anyone and everyone on their products, and why wouldn't they? In stopping myself from going on a rant about regulation, the thing that really ticks me off is that the very people pushing for this protecting the children legislation, and I'm being specific to the UK here, but the same applies everywhere else, these people have no idea about the technology or how it would be implemented or enforced or punished. These people are dangerously ignorant of the facts, which is funny in a really sketchy way, because that's what they claim to be promoting, facts. The so-called Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill is the subject of contention right now in British politics in relation to VPN usage. Ministers saw how VPN usage spiked once the Online Safety Act came into effect halfway through 2025, and interpreted this as users, more specifically under the age of 18 users, exploiting this as they described loophole in order to gain access to now age-gated services like those dastardly spicy websites. Of course, this is a grain of truth in a beach of adult-age users just wanting to access now age-gated services without providing a form of government-issued ID, but common sense and understanding understanding how technology works and why it's used be damned. You can be 16 to join the military and to vote, but to try and download a VPN? Oh, you naughty boy. This is where the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill comes into play, which, having received an amendment by the House of Sussy Lords in February 2026, would, if it becomes law in its current form, require all users wishing to download a VPN to go through, quote, highly effective age assurance. Now, what does that actually mean? It means you would have to provide a form of ID, like a driving license or a passport, to a third-party service like yoinked in order to prove you are over the age of 18. Or 18, I guess. If you've got more than a quarter of a brain cell, you would see the issue here. This isn't age verification. This is de facto ID verification. ID verification to download and use a VPN. You see the problem here? A technology used to protect your privacy, hide your network traffic from your ISP, or network monitoring software would be legally obliged to collect your ID. Oh yeah, which member of Mensa came up with this? Now, if these age/de facto ID verification services were to be done by some government entity, I would at least have a micron more of understanding. But they're not. In fact, the rules around which company can be this omniscient data collector seem pretty lax by traditional Eurodata rules. This, of course, presents a huge number of possible data integrity questions and data security questions around how it's stored, who has access, is the data completely deleted, or is it pseudonymized? It's all good for us Eurobros and Britbongs pointing our right to GDPR, which states all European data must be collected and stored in accordance to GDPR, no matter where the data is or who it's collected by. But how do you enforce these rules on an American ID verifier who stores and manages all their data on American servers? Realistically, can't. They might say they delete all the data as soon as they collect it. Discord, but do they? Of course, Discord said they did, and look how that turned out. There's also stuff like age verification services that claim to do it all on your device without contacting external services, but I don't know, man. It's kind of sketchy. Hypothetically, of course, if you wanted to get around the upcoming age ID checks for using a commercial VPN, you could, again, hypothetically speaking, rent some space on a small VPS provider in a location of your choosing, the small VPS provider being important as to attain a residential IP. You could then set up, say, OpenVPN or WireGuard whilst using Unbound to reroute your DNS, and you'd be pretty chill. And Merry Bros, there are already a number of US states, with more states in the works, aiming to pass bills to begin the process of enforcing that services begin introducing age verification, de facto ID checks to download VPNs and, by association, using them. In particular, as of February 2026, Wisconsin, Louisiana, and Michigan currently have proposals that aim to, in one way or another, block access to users using a VPN to get to certain age-gated sites. Unfortunately for you Ameribros, it seems the legality for VPN and general access to sites that have become age-gated in over half of your states is only going to become more and more complicated, as it seems, at least for now, there are no national laws in the US dictating this, only state laws. I mean, to give you an example of how nuts some of your states are, Louisiana has already passed a law with the enforcement date later this year in 2026, mandating device-level ID verification, which they claim would work on the device even if the device is connected to a VPN. I mean, that's just as bad as what they're trying to do in the UK. Remember when you first had a talk at school or by your parents in regards to the internet, where you were told not to have your real name as your user handle or go post pictures of yourself online? Yeah, I miss those days. This is yet another video I've done around age ID laws and stuff relating to it. I think it is very important to bring this to light, as it is completely insane. Anyway, thank you for watching. Spread the word, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in my next video.